message for Americans who are concerned about the impact of things such as tariffs on prices.
I'm not going to stand up here and lie to you like my predecessor did about the state of our economy.
When we look at how strong the economy is, it's because of the president's work.
We understand there are people that are hurting. I can assure the American people that the president is very much focused on bringing down the cost of living crisis in this country that was created by the previous administration.
I don't have anything. 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 I just don't have anything. I don't have anything. We don't have anything. I just don't have anything. Don't have anything. So I don't have anything. 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 I just don't have.
Answers to Karine Jean-Pierre's job inquiries seem rather simple, right? Well, not if you're a Word fan. Karoline Leavitt interrupts the awkward pauses and flips through a binder as if you're seeing it for the first time. And she really blows that norm away. When she hit the stage, it wasn't simply a step up, it was a masterclass. There was no nonsense, no fumbling, just cold, hard work and a healthy dosage of confidence. Prepare yourself because we are going to witness Karoline Leavitt break down Karine Jean-Pierre in real time. However, before we begin, please click the subscribe button and enable notifications if you haven't already. Thank you, and let's get started.
So if you think about the 737,000,
The entire tenure of Karine Jean-Pierre as White House press secretary was a complete disaster. It was like witnessing a day hiring, stutter through a role she was never suited for, struggling and serving up word salads that left everyone perplexed. Fast forward to Karoline Leavitt, and all of a sudden the press briefing room gets something it hasn't had in years. Don't believe me, but when you compare Karen's disastrous first press conference to Litt's flawless performance, the difference is like night and day. Let's start by looking at Karine Jean-Pierre.
I just want to say a few words about how honored I am to be here with all of you today in this role, in this room, standing behind this podium. I am obviously acutely aware that my presence at this podium represents a few firsts. I am a Black, gay, immigrant woman, the first of all three of those to hold this position. I would not be here today if it were not for generations of barrier-breaking people before me. I stand on their shoulders. If it were not for generations of barrier-breaking people before me, I would not be here.
The discomfort that permeates the podium when Karine takes the stage for the first time is already apparent. But that's not even the worst part. It's obvious that she lacks confidence and can hardly believe what she says because she avoids looking at the media. And just when you think it can get any more awkward, she begins with a self-congratulation, reminding everyone that she is the first Black female immigrant woman to hold the position, as if that matters more than actually performing the job. Hey, that's the woke agenda for you, so forget about the work and just concentrate on your feelings, race, and gender identity. Now, let's watch Karoline give a masterclass on the first day in the office.
Good afternoon, everybody. How are we? Good to see all of you. It's an honor to be here with all of you. A lot of familiar faces in the room, a lot of new faces. And President Trump is back, and the golden age of America has most definitely begun. The Senate has already confirmed 5 of President Trump's exceptional cabinet nominees: Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, CIA Director John Ratcliffe, Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem, and Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. It is imperative that the Senate continues to confirm the remainder of the president's well-qualified nominees as quickly as possible.
The instant Karoline Leavitt enters the podium, the entire space comes to life. She is a breath of fresh air, much different from the dark cloud that typically hovered around. The best part is that Karine Jean-Pierre Leavitt doesn't waste time on identity. Politics. She could have easily made a big deal out of being the youngest White House press secretary ever, but she doesn't. If it were Karine, she would have made it into a personal victory speech instead of Leavitt cutting. Karine Jean-Pierre Leavitt doesn't just walk in. She owns the stage and exudes confidence that Karine could only dream of. Getting down to the point, outlining Trump's intentions to restart America with no nonsense or diversions and only results, along with the press. In contrast to Karine, who is nearly always unprepared and carries those enormous binders to every press briefing, Leavitt is here to lead and doesn't dodge questions. You can tell they're not used to this level of competence because some of them are even fumbling for the typical deflections and prepared non-answers. However, watch this video to see how Karen never has the answers.
This is not the norm. The norm is we do get an opportunity to ask the questions to the president about domestic and foreign policy issues in a formal setting at some point. And you choose that point, but we haven't had that opportunity in quite some time.
So I'll say this, it is also unprecedented that a president takes as many shouted questions as this president has, and he has.
I know the last
Okay.
administration, I'll tell you, almost every day on this
Okay,
building,
well, we'll certainly get the data and share that with all of you. I hear, John, I hear your question, I heard Zeke's question, I hear you. I hear you on the press conference, on a formal press conference.
When the reporter heard the query, Karen, why didn't they simply respond? The reporter was crystal clear. Why wasn't the press? Having a formal briefing with President Biden at the time was a straightforward question, but Catherine chooses to focus on her strengths rather than answering it. Instead of responding honestly, she dodges, deflects, and diverts attention by bringing up an unimportant talking point about how many times Biden had responded to yelled questions, as though that somehow justified the lack of transparency. Karen is evading responsibility while feigning that she is actually carrying out her duties, and the press is so frustrated at this point that you can almost feel their annoyance as she falters through her response, searching for anything that remotely resembles an answer. However, the truth is that Biden wasn't holding actual press briefings, and she had no defense for it, so she resorts to using meaningless filler in the hopes that no one will notice. But everyone does. Now contrast that with Karoline Leavitt completely cutting off woke reporters.
500 arrests ICE has made so far since President Trump came back into office. Can you just tell us the numbers? How many have a criminal record versus those who are just in the country illegally?
All of them, because they illegally broke our nation's laws and therefore they are criminals as far as this administration goes. I know the last administration didn't see it that way, so it's a big culture shift in our nation to view someone who breaks our immigration laws as a criminal, but that's exactly what they are.
Karoline doesn't just hear the question. She owns it. Her responses are straightforward and free of pretended evasions. What really makes Karoline stand out is her command of the room. She doesn't fumble through binders or stall for time. Instead, she looks reporters in the eye and delivers every response with sharp precision and backed by real knowledge, leaving the media with no room for their usual spin. The press pool is fighting to keep up, used to soft, meaningless answers. But now, they're getting hard-hitting facts and they can't stand it. Direct and frequently leave woke reporters wriggling in their seats. No dodging or deflecting, just straight facts delivered with the kind of confidence Karine Jean-Pierre could only imagine. In addition to being an exceptional press secretary, Karoline Leavitt is a master of leadership, which is giving journalists nightmares. She frequently includes mic drop instances like,
White House official made the decision to bar the AP reporter from the Oval Office and the diplomatic reception room last night.
Well, first of all, let me just set the record straight. It is a privilege to cover this White House. It's a privilege to be the White House press secretary. And nobody has the right to go into the Oval Office and ask the President of the United States questions. That's an invitation that is given. And there are hundreds of outlets on this campus, many of you in this room who don't have the privilege of being part of that pool every single day and getting to ask the President questions. We reserve the right to decide who gets to go into the Oval Office, and you all have credentials to be here, including the Associated Press, who is in this briefing room today.
particularly when compared to other vocalists. Karoline Leavitt is a true powerhouse. Jean Pierce, Karine. Every time she takes the podium, she serves as a living reminder of why Biden was defeated in the White House. Her assurance, her grasp of the facts, and her genuine ability to respond to inquiries make fun of the DI bullshit that the Biden administration attempted to impose on us. Karoline didn't get this job because of a quota. She didn't check a diversity box or use identity politics to get to the top. Rather, she earned it via intelligence, hard work, and a genuine understanding of the issues. She demonstrates her suitability. ready for the position every day. And the contrast with Karine Jean-Pierre's reliance on canned talking points and meaningless platitudes couldn't be more stark. Karoline reestablishes credibility at the podium with each press briefing, demonstrating to America what competence truly looks like. She is a true leader, not a token one, and speaks with authority without the need for a lifeline from a 3-ring binder. Jean-Pierre frequently fumbled when removing the script, as seen in this clip, because she was so out of her depth, The
White House released a 6-page summary back in February. I don't think that was a full accounting necessarily. And Dr. O'Connor in that memo described the president as, quote, a healthy, active, robust 81-year-old male who remains fit to successfully execute the duties of the presidency. I think that is clearly not what the majority of Americans are seeing. And we have a new poll from CBS News that says 72% of registered voters say the president does not have the mental and cognitive health to serve as president. So are you saying that the majority of Americans are misguided and that they just need to trust Dr. O'Connor and take him at his word?
Now watch as Karine flip-flops awkwardly through this question. To be honest, it's unpleasant. She sounds as though she's making a last-minute presentation for high school.
So a couple of things, and I want to say the president is feeling better, and you saw him last night, you saw him today, but he does indeed still have a cold. Look, I want to be very sensitive here, and I think it is important to be sensitive here. We understand how the American people are feeling. We get it. We do. And I do not want to take away from that. I'm not going to speak. I know that there was, you all did a poll, CNN did a poll. I'm not going to speak to every poll.
Since you don't have a script for every poll classic, you can't speak to them all. Karine G. Pierre, I still recall that press conference as if it had just happened. Armed with carefully chosen quotes from purported experts, she arrived with her script ready to lecture the media on why President Biden was perfectly mentally capable of continuing to lead the nation, despite the fact that it was painfully obvious to everyone watching that he lacked the necessary mental acuity. Karine attempted to promote the idea that Biden was at his best, but she was unaware that CBS had just released a shocking survey indicating that 72% of Americans believed Biden couldn't serve as president. A true press secretary like Karoline Leavitt doesn't need a script to handle difficult questions. Instead, she anticipates them, prepares for them, and most importantly, responds to them. However, because that wasn't in her binder, she had nothing to defend or respond to. Just a blank stare and some awkward rambling. This further demonstrated her complete...
To be clear, that $71 billion was from 2015 to 2022, so it wasn't in just 1 year, and it was...
$71 billion.
But it wasn't in 1 year, just to be clear.
In one report.
And it was in one report over multiple years, from 2015 to 2022.
So are you defending $71 billion in fraud, Peter? That's a lot of money, far too much, and that's why this administration... Why is the media so against cutting waste, fraud, and abuse from the government? I don't get it.
I just want to ask a question.
We won't be deterred. We will not be deterred from people like you and the press who are clearly adamantly opposed to cutting waste, fraud, and abuse. But we know that American taxpayers at home who have been struggling with an inflationary crisis don't want their tax dollars going towards crazy DEI programs in countries overseas.
This short sparring match had an easy setup. Karoline Leavitt has just dropped the bombshell that the government had discovered a massive $71 billion fraud committed by the previous administration in what appeared to be a slip of the tongue. She said that the fraud happened in a single fiscal year, and a reporter immediately jumped in to try to take Leavitt off script by pointing out that the $71 billion was actually spread out over 7 years rather than just one. Karoline took control of the situation. Rather than backing up or stumbling, she used a vicious counterpunch to turn what could have been an embarrassing slip-up into a personal victory. Karine Jean-Pierre would have been frantically digging through her binder for an escape hatch. Are you really defending a swindle worth $71 billion? In an instant, the reporter became defensive, and Karoline wasn't done yet. She completely changed the subject, questioning them about why the press was more interested in a technicality than in addressing the waste in government funds. It was a masterclass in confidence that turned what might have been a mistake into a complete blowout. Just like the time she admonished the media to quit behaving like schoolchildren, Caroline runs her news.
The Abraham Accord, Mr. Witkoff, the president said he wants to.
Yeah, thank you. Can you direct traffic? Yeah, thanks.
Let's act like adults here. They are generously offering their time to answer your questions. You don't need to scream at them like a bunch of school children. Ouija, go ahead.
Thank you very much.
The White House press secretary received a lot of praise from viewers of the video. One person said, "They act like school." Finally, the woman who had called on took a moment to thank Karoline, our press secretary, who is unquestionably in charge as it should be. "Karoline is incredible. She had that homeroom teacher energy and look, and they listened like children." "Thank you, Mrs. Leavitt." Another commenter jumped in and pointed out her control over the press. "Did you notice that?" At the very next press conference, some people were in awe of her authority and not shouting questions. This is especially noteworthy given that she is only 27 years old and telling media elders how to behave like adults. Now, let's see how Karine Jean-Pierre handled reporters when she was completely...
So, what do you call it here at the White House when 10,000 people illegally cross the border in a single day?
So what do you call it, Peter, when GOP puts forth a wait, no, you can't.
Karine?
I'm answering, okay, we're gonna move
You're
on.
answering
No,
the question with the question? Okay.
no, we're moving on.
Karine,
Moving.
please.
In the back,
Now, you said you were stopping the flow at the border.
No, I tried to
10,000
answer, Peter, I
okay.
tried to answer the question, you stopped me. Let's go.
I'm going to stay actually with the border. How many people coming into this country illegally is enough?
I know the numbers, but enough for what?
Enough just to stop the flow.
As I mentioned, this is a problem that's been around for some time now, for decades, a broken system.
And without warning, she dodges the typical Jean-Pierre question by finding a way out. But worse, her pitiful try to control the press during briefings by using petty tactics, such as flatly refusing to answer their questions as a form of punishment, rather than handling a journalist who pushes back calmly but firmly. How childish is that? Imagine being so incapable of handling scrutiny that your response is to stonewall the press like a pouting teenager. This isn't leadership, it's cowardice. White House Press Secretary Karen acted like a petty bureaucracy punishing reporters for daring to reveal her evasions, even though she should be held accountable rather than spiteful. It makes sense that people hold Karoline Leavitt in such high regard because she handles difficult questions head-on, doesn't play games, retaliates, or treats the media like misbehaving kids, but instead participates in debates and actually responds to them. That's what separates someone who earned their position from someone who has been given it. And regrettably, Karoline Leavitt not only avoids questions, but also uses lies.
He's been there. He's been to the border. And since he took office...
When did he go to the border?
Since he took office, the President Biden has been taking action to fix our immigration system and secure our border. But, that we're not seeing that from Republicans. We're not seeing a willingness to work with us on fixing a situation that's been around for decades now.
She was almost smiling when she said it too, KJP. Look, Ben Dominich joins me now. Ben, we know that Joe Biden hasn't been to the border. Why the bold-faced lie?
She is utterly incompetent as White House, and I will tell you why she told that brazen falsehood. Press officer. Not only was she ignorant or misinformed, but she also knew the truth and chose to avoid it, because acknowledging that Biden had never visited the border would have been political suicide. She was afraid of the media firestorm, the backlash, and the harsh reality that her party was facing an impending electoral catastrophe, so she did what she always does: avoid, deflect, and deceive. Recognizing Biden's absence at the border would reveal the administration's complete immigration failure, as she was aware, would provide Republicans additional ammunition to drive home the point of the border crisis, and above all, she was aware that it would be a disastrous appearance for Biden, who had avoided accountability for years. As a result, she panicked, and rather than defending herself and providing an honest response, She lied through her teeth to shield an administration that had
Your message for Americans who are concerned about the impact of things such as tariffs on prices.
I'm not going to stand up here and lie to you like my predecessor did about the state of our economy.
When we look at how strong the economy is, it's because of the president's work.
We understand there are people that are hurting. I can assure the American people that the president is very much focused on bringing down the cost of living crisis in this country that was created by the previous administration.
What a blistering critique Karoline Leavitt gave in a matter of minutes. She encapsulated that not only did she reveal Jean-Pierre's ineptitude, but she also exposed the ongoing deceit that afflicted Karine Jean-Pierre and the Biden administration as a whole. The whole catastrophe that was Karine Jean-Pierre's time as White House press secretary was told without pretense or filler. Administration, let's face it, Karine was an embarrassment who wasted her time at work, gaslighting the American people. While avoiding questioning and spreading false information, she and her boss frequently lied to the public in an attempt to hide Biden's shortcomings with carefully planned nonsense. But the worst part is that the American people saw right through it. The lies, ineptitude, and flagrant lack of transparency all caught up with them, and ultimately, it cost them the election. Karoline Leavitt did a fantastic job. This wasn't just a leadership failure.
Why is the president bragging today about gas prices?
Because it's gone down.
It's still $1.72 higher than when he took office.
It has come down in a way that we haven't seen its trajectory coming down in over a decade.
Still
and
over
it is
$4 a gallon, though. Is that good?
You want to talk to a nurse or a teacher or a firefighter if having that little bit of breathing room doesn't matter to them?
Are nurses and teachers and firefighters saying gas prices are only $4.11?
I'm saying
this is great.
And that's another reason why Kamala Harris was destroyed on election night, rather than they were too busy promoting radical policies that allowed biological men to invade women's sports and restrooms to concentrate on pressing issues like improving the economy, securing the border, and maintaining public safety. They were preoccupied with fringe social issues and totally ignored the struggles of hardworking Americans on a daily basis. Karine Jean-Pierre and her woke allies believed that pandering to the activist class was more important than actually governing, which is why the economy is in ruins, inflation is skyrocketing, crime is spiraling out of control, and they had every opportunity to turn things around and listen to the concerns of real Americans. Instead, they doubled down on nonsense, pushing day-over competence ideology over common sense and identity politics over actual results, and when voters finally had their say, they rejected it all. In the meantime, Karoline left, and the new administration is demonstrating what true leadership looks like by...
I don't have anything. 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 I just don't have anything. I don't have anything. We don't have anything. I just don't have anything. Don't have anything. So I don't have anything. 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 I just don't have.
You had nothing to give America, indeed. Jean-Pierre, Karine. Just a never-ending series of deflections with no leadership or vision, word salads, and outright false information. Fortunately, America no longer has to endure your ineptitude, Karoline. Leavitt, who truly understands the role of press secretary and values using the truth over spin, clarity over confusion, and accountability over scripted nonsense, will take over as president. Your tenure at the White House will not only be remembered as awful, but as one of the worst tenures of any press secretary in history. Leavitt is there to educate the American people, not to gaslight them. She doesn't dodge difficult inquiries. Instead, she confronts them head-on with facts, rather than weak talking points. Press briefings under Karine were a farce, and the difference is night and day. Avoiding awkward pauses and frantic attempts to make up for Biden's shortcomings under Karoline, they are now back to being straightforward, informative, and honest. A welcome change from the mess Karine left behind. On that positive note, we conclude today's episode. If you liked our analysis of these two White House press secretaries, please remember to hit the like button and subscribe for more incisive, no-nonsense takes like this.